This is Varshila working as an associate professor at the Institute of Aeronautical Engineering. In this session, I'll discuss about the closure of the functional dependencies and attribute closure also. Last session, we discussed about what is functional dependency and what is the reasoning about that particular functional dependency. By using Armstrong axioms, we can generate additional functional dependencies based on the base functional dependencies. 3 base Armstrong axioms were discussed. By using these three more axioms were also derived. By using these 6 axioms, from the set of functional dependencies, we can generate logically derived functional dependencies. So, a functional dependency defined as any two tuples in R, if x values are equal, then the corresponding y values also must be equal. For any pair or all pairs of tuples, then we can say x functionally determines y or x functionally dependent on y. And remember, if x determines y, then y need not determine x. Vice versa need not be true. It may be true or it may not be true, depending upon the dependency constraints. And we discussed about this functional dependency will be represented as x determines y, where x, y are the subsets of the attributes, and it determines is represented by using a long arrow. And also we discussed these functional dependencies are generalization of the keys. Generally, keys are going to be represented as a single attribute or a set of attributes which uniquely determines the entire relation. But in case of dependencies among some other sets of attributes, these FTs are going to be generated. So, all keys are functional dependencies. And by using these Armstrong axioms, that is reflexivity, augmentation, transitivity, we can generate more functional dependencies. We will call these rules also rules of inference. Logically inferred FDs are going to be generated. All FDs which are logically derivable, the set of such FDs are known as closure of the FDs, that is F plus. So we can apply these 3 rules and additional 3 rules are going to be derived so that more sequence of applying the same rule time to time can be avoidable. So based upon these base rules, 3 more rules are able to derive: union rule, decomposition rule, pseudo-transitivity rule. In case of reflexivity, x determines y means y is a subset of x. Augmentation means you can add both sides to some sets of attributes so that the functional dependency holds good. Transitivity means if x determines y, y determines z, then x determines z. By using these 3, we can derive union rule, decomposition rule, pseudo-activity, and the union rule adds set of attributes on right hand side only. Similarly, decomposition also, the right hand side sets of attributes can be decomposed to, but not left hand side. Pseudo-transitivity means if any alpha determines beta, some set of attributes gamma added on the left hand side, gamma beta determines delta, then alpha gamma determines delta can be considered pseudo-transitivity. Now we'll discuss about the closure of the functional dependencies. Given set of FDs, there are other FDs that can be inferred based on F by using all these inference rules, Armstrong axioms. Then that set is known as closure of the F. But we need to find out all such FDs. It's very tedious job actually. The set of all FDs that can be inferred from F, including trivial dependencies. In the last session, I explained what is trivial dependencies. So F plus is a superset of F. It consists of all FDs plus additional FDs inferred from the set of FDs. So computation of this closure of FDs, that is F plus, is very expensive because more and more are able to generate it depending upon the number of dependencies are available actually. We'll look into some examples. Let R is equal to A, B, C, G, H, I. These are the attributes. A, B, C, G, H, I are the attributes. And the set of FDs, given FDs are A determines B, A determines C, CG determines H, CG determines I, B determines H. We will generate some members of F class. I'll give some examples. You can generate more also. For example, from A determines B by these two, you may consider it as a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. From these 5 FDs, I'll get A determines H by using 1 and 4, 1 and 5. So A determines H, A determines B, and B determines H. One is A determines B, and fifth one is B determines H. By using these two, which rule we are able to apply? Transitivity rule. So transitivity rule, if you are going to apply, then we'll get A determines H. This is one of the members of F plus, newly inferred from the existing one. Similarly, AG determines I. So AG determines I means A determines C is there, that is second FD. By adding both sides G. That means we are using the augmentation you are considering. AG we are considering. By adding on both sides G, then we'll get AG determines CG by applying the augmentation rule. After that, by using these two, A determines C, AG determines CG, and we have CG determines H is there, CG determines I is there. Either of these two can be used. First, I will use CG determines I, that is fourth one, based upon the second. From second, I generated a new, let us assume that newly generated is represented by small 1. And by using this 1 and 4, we will get AG determines I. Because AG determines CG, CG determines I. So AG determines I. So this is a newly inferred. Similarly, from AG determines CG, CG determines H. That is, by using third one, we will get CG determines H. So by adding C on both sides also, you can consider AG determines I, CG determines HI. By adding that also, you can consider. So like this, you can generate more number of FDs can be generated, which are considered to be as a members of the F class by using inference rules. These inference rules are going to be applicable as per the requirement, as per the need actually. There is no any thumb rule, this must be applied first, this must be applied second, etc. So to generate any newly logically inferred FD, you can apply in any number of these rules, inference rules can be applicable so that you are able to generate new FDs. One more example we'll consider. You observe here the set of FDs are in the left hand side. What are the FDs we have? F is a set of FDs. AB determines C, A determines D, and D determines E. These are the FDs of F. By using these FDs, first we are applying an augmentation rule in the second one. Just you observe the rule was also specified in this slide. By applying augmentation rule, so what is augmentation rule? We are adding an attribute B on both sides. So AB determines BD. So AB determines C is there, AB determines BD is there by using union rule. So just observe these dots. By using union rule, we will get AB determines BCD. Now again, third one consider D determines E, augmentation. That means both sides we are adding because you are using D, BC we are adding. So BCD determines BCDE because BCD is there on the left hand side, so that transitivity can be applicable. So by using this, transitivity is applied. So you will get ABD, AB determines BCD, E, and you can decompose also further. That means here we can decompose it as AB determines BCD, AB determines BCD, E is there. So we can write it as AB determines BCD. You can decompose further. AB determines CDE also. That means we are generated newly inferred FDs, which are members of F plus. AB determines BD is generated, and AB determines BCD was generated. AB determines BCDE, third one generated, and AB determines CDE was it. All are elements of F plus. There is no any proper thumb rule as is specified here. So we need to apply as per the need of that particular rule so that we able to generate a new FD. Other than this, AB determines C, A determines D, D determines E. So you have to newly derive some FDs by using from members of F or combination of members of F plus already generated also. Those are also can be considered. So computing the closure of the set of FDs can be very expensive because the size of the closure is exponential with reference to the number of attributes. If number of attributes are less, a little bit easy, but more number of attributes are there, computation of F plus becomes very complex actually, very expensive. So we want to check if a given FD, so that's why instead of generating entire F plus, we may have an idea that if any FD was given, whether it is in our F closure or not, that will be checked by us. That is, we can check if a given FD X determines Y is in the closure of the FDs or not by using attribute closure property. So generation becoming a more complex. At least we able to identify any derived FD is in F plus or not. If that is available, we can do some more normalization or a decomposition problems can be used. So problems can be considered by using this newly inferred FDs also. So to determine that, we need to have an idea an attribute closure. So what is an attribute closure? We discussed the F closure, that is FD's closure, F plus. All set of FDs which are logically inferred from the set of FDs, existing FDs F actually. So to check whether an FD is a member of F plus or not, we can consider this attribute closure process also. So what is an attribute closure? Attribute closure of A is denoted by A plus. Given set of FDs, compute all attributes X that A determines X. So we have to find out all attributes X such that A determines X. So for example, here the attribute may be a single attribute or it may be a set of attributes, remember. That's why sometimes we will call it as a attribute set closure also. Attribute closure or attribute set closure are one and the same because attribute means here in our FDs, A determines B means A and B may be attributes or may be sets of attributes. So that's why here attribute closure means attribute set closure also this is. So what is meant by attribute set closure? We have to compute all attributes X such that A, for example, I would like to find out A closure. I need to find out all sets of functional dependencies such that A determines X. Those X are belongs to my attribute closure. That means right hand side of my A, all FDs, left hand side must be A and right hand side must be X, some X. All those set of X attributes are known as attribute closure of A actually. It can be computed easily by using a recursive procedures. Recursively, we will apply transitive properties so that we will be able to calculate or find out the attribute closure. And A can be a single attribute or set of attributes. Just now I explained to you. So how to compute attribute closure, which is denoted by X plus with reference to F. So what with reference to X plus is, as I explained to you, what is X plus? X plus is a attribute closure of X now. So set of all attributes A such that your X determines A in F plus. So X plus is equal to X initially, repeatedly until there is no change occurs. We have to find out to generate FDs U determines V in F such that U is already there in X plus, then V also will be there in your X plus. That means V will be added. Union. If U is already there in your X, that means already attribute closure, then V, that is determinants, will be considered to be as added to our attribute closure. First, we have to check what we need to check. We have to check whether U is in X plus or not. If U is there, V will be added. So all transitive FDs we are able to generate, no? For all of them, we will get more attributes are keeping on adding into our attribute closure. This process is continued repeatedly until there is no new FD will be generated so that an attribute will be added in the closure. This approach can be used to find the keys of the relation also. Attribute closure property. There are multiple uses are there, attribute closure, I'll explain afterwards. But these process, attribute closure calculation or finding attribute closure, will also help us to generate our keys of a relation if we don't have an idea about the key. So we will check how these keys are going to become, attribute closure is going to be computed and when we will call it as a key also. Compute the closure of the set of attributes A1, A2, etc. AN. So set I am taking. That set I am representing with an X. So what I need to check? First, initially, all these attributes for which I am finding the closure, that is the set of my closure itself. So I will have initially X is equal to all my attributes for which I am supposed to calculate the closure actually. Now I need to find out whether there exists an FD such that B1, B2, etc. Bm determines C. Such a way BA belongs to X. If BA belongs to X, I can add on right hand side, that is this C. If this belongs to X, then that C can be added to my attribute closure newly. If these are already existing, no? So that's why if these exist means the determinants also exist. That right hand side also should exist. So that's why we will add it to. This second step is repeated. There are no more attributes can be added further. How can you check? If all attributes of relation schema are added, then we can stop. That is one condition. Another condition is if there are no FDs are able to generate, then also we can stop. Right? These are the two criteria we will consider so that attribute closure can be computed. We'll see some examples here, how to find out attribute closure and when we will call it as a key also. Now consider the relation schema having the attributes A, B, C, G, H, I. So A determines B, these are the FDs are given for us. A determines B, A determines C, that is 1. I am giving the numbering so that while applying sometimes we may speak with the numbering 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are the FDs we have. 5 FDs are there and 6 attributes are there. Now, the problem is we have to calculate AG plus. AG plus means what is the set of attributes now? The set of attributes are AG. For that, I need to calculate the closure. So initially, what are the attributes are involved? Included, those are AG. So initially the result, that is attribute, result is nothing but attribute closure we are able to calculate further. So the attribute closure consists of initially AG. This is the step 1. Then I need to find out the FDs which are left hand side will be having either A or G or AG. First you check. First FD I am taking. A determines C. And also second one is there. A determines B. That means on the left hand side in both FDs, A is in our result as well as B is on both left hand side of the FDs. A is in our result. That is left hand side part of the FDs are contained in my already attribute closure. That is result. A contained in result. So that's why I can add C to my result as well as I can add B to my result because left hand side are already in my attribute closure result. So after adding that, what will be my adding means union. It's adding means just we are adding the members, right? Because already attribute closure is having members AG. Now I am including C as well as B because the respective FD's left hand side is already in my attribute closure. By adding this, including these two, now my result is having ABCG. A contained in AG, so that's why because of that I am adding on the right hand side as per the rule of computation of the attribute closure. Right hand side included in our attribute closure, that is the result in this example. Now, so ABCG is there. Now I am able to consider CG determines H, CG determines I. Both can be considered. So CG determines H. See, here it is not there. You can add also. CG determines H. CG determines I. In both cases, CG contained in AG, BCH. Results contained here. So, I didn't consider this I'll consider. CG determines I means CG contained in ABCH. Then I will be added. After adding the I, I'll get the result as a ABCGHI. ABCGHI. Now, should I consider the next one or should I stop? Every time we need to check. As I told you, when should I stop? This process is repeated till the attribute closure consists of all attributes of relation schema R. There are no further FDs. But here we have further FDs because we have CG determines I is there, B determines H is there, etc. But what is the result consists of? Result consists of ABCGHI, which is equivalent to my R. So that's why the remaining FDs need not be considered. The process must be continued, keeping on adding to the attribute closure attributes till the attribute closure consists of the entire relation R. That is all attributes of relation R. Otherwise, there are no FDs to be considered. In this example, FDs are still there, but by this time itself, the result consists of all attributes of R. So we can stop. Now, so AG plus I computed. Now, what is the attribute closure of AG plus? AG plus attribute closure consists of A, B, C, G, H, I. Now, if any set of attributes are having attribute closure, all attributes of relation R, then that particular attribute closure is known as a key. Now, what is AG plus? AG plus is having A, B, C, G, H, I, which is equivalent to R only. So that's why if this closure is having all attributes, then this AG will become a key. Now, AG is a candidate key because AG determines all other attributes. So that's why we will consider this AG as a key. So why we are considering this? AG determines R because AG having attribute closure as ABCGHI, that is R itself. So attribute closure means all determines, no? So that's why AG determines all attributes. So that's why AG is a candidate key. Okay, similarly you can check A plus is OR, G plus is OR. What is A plus? A plus is attribute closure of A and G plus is attribute closure of G. So first I'll consider for the one I'll consider for A you are going to consider initially A plus is having A. Then by using FD1 this will become AB because left hand side is there, no, so that's why. By using FD2 this will become ABC. Why? Because right hand side I am keeping on adding, right? ABC is there. So by using fifth FD, for example, if you are considering fifth FD, B determines H. So B determines H means here, what will you get? Left hand side is existing in my attribute closure. B is there. So that's why I will add H, A, B, C, H. Okay, A, B, C, H. What are the leftover FDs? CG determines H is there. CD determines I is there. CG determines H. CG is there? No, only C is there. So that's why 3, 4 cannot be included here. So what is my A plus consists of A, B, C, H, which is not equivalent to R actually. Which is not equivalent to R, not all attributes. But I am stopping because no further FDs are able to included here. So that's why if it is not equal to R means A is not a key. If you are computing A plus, when you are computing A plus determines A plus consists of A, B, C, H. So CG, ABC is there, but GI are not able to include by us. So that's why it is not equivalent to R. So A plus means A is not a attribute closure of A is not equivalent to R, then it is not a key. Like that, we have to consider attribute closure. If attribute closure consists of the relation equivalent to relation, then we may say it is a candidate key. Another example is there, compute the attribute closure of AB with reference to set of FDs. So initially AB will be there, attribute closure of AB, no, initially the left hand side itself includes AB. First by using FD, AFD, AB determines C, so C will be added. Then using A determines D, then D will be added, A, B, C, D added. Then I can apply C, D determines E, no, so that's why E will be added. Now what? A, B, C, D, E, all attributes are there. Then our attribute closure AB includes all attributes. AB will be a key also. So another relation is there. By using this relation, when you are computing, we will get attribute closure of A is also ABC, B also ABC, and C also ABC. So ABC, all are keys of that particular relation. Candidate keys, remember that. So when you are using the relation schema, let us assume that A, B, C, D is there with reference to FDs. B determines CD, D determines E, B determines A, E determines C, AD determines B. So what we need to check, B determines C is in a F plus or not. If you would like to find out, one of the uses of attribute closure is when that particular, any particular FD exists or not, we need to check. So now I need to check B determines in E or not. Whichever the attribute, whichever the FD membership has to be checked in F plus, then the left hand side set of attributes closure must be considered. So B determines E, I need to check. So left hand side is B. So what I need to calculate? B plus. So when I am going to compute B plus, B determines CD is there. By using that, I'll get B plus as a BCD. B is already there. CD is added actually. D determines E is there. So we will consider D determines D is there. You can add that one, that is D is already there. So E will be added. So you can get it as a BCD E. Similarly, B determines A is there. Of course, A added first initially E. Directly you can add the next one also, E also. So D determines E is there. Then when I got E on my closure, I can stop. That means whatever in the right hand side is there, if the right hand side is available in my attribute closure of the left hand side set of attributes, then the respective FD will be in F plus. So what is the rule? So when any FD membership has to be checked, what we supposed to do? We have to find out left side attribute closure. Left side attribute closure need to be find out. Once the left side attribute closure, if it consists of right side attributes of the FD, then that particular FD is, if it consists of right hand side FD attributes, then that particular FD exists in our F plus. So like that, you need to check membership of a FD, whether it exists in F plus. Initially, our discussion started with that only. F plus computation of complete F plus is very expensive. So that's why instead of identifying entire F plus, sometimes we can find out whether a particular FD exists in F plus or not. P determines E in this example, which is not in F. We need to check whether it exists in B, F plus or not. For that, what are the steps we need to follow? Left hand side set of attributes attribute closure must be computed. In this example, B plus must be computed. If B plus consists of the set of attributes of the right side, that is E in this example, then we can say the respective FD exists in F plus. Now in this example, B plus consists of E. That's why B determines E exists in our F plus. So similarly, we can identify whether it is a key or not in the previous example. So is D is a key for R? So D plus I computed, but its closure consists of only DEC, but not all attributes of R. So it's not a key. Similarly, AD plus if I am computed, AD determines ABD and B is a key. So S you can see. So like that, we can identify whether it is a key or not, or whether a particular dependency exists or not can be identifiable by using this attribute closure computation. So by using attribute closure, many types of uses are there actually. So how to compute keys? Here whenever you are finding attribute closure, we can compute closure of single attributes, combination of two attributes, combination of three attributes, and so on and so forth. So based upon that, we will compute all keys of a table. In general, this will be taking more time because first single attribute closures we will consider, then two attribute closures, then three attribute closures. Combinations, no, that's why it will take more time. That is exponential time algorithm in size of the problem. But if you have some idea, that is heuristic is there. What is heuristic here in these examples? If you have an idea that which is maybe a dependency or uniqueness of the attributes are available, then tractable problems can be considered in example. So by using this attribute closure, we can test for a super key. That is, if it consists of key, super key can be considered. To test the super key, alpha is a super key. We compute alpha plus. Check if alpha plus contains all attributes of or not. Testing functional dependency, I have shown example also. To check functional dependency, alpha determines B, beta holds in F plus or not. We have to check whether, find out the alpha plus. If beta is contained in alpha plus, then we can say that particular FD exists in our F plus. This is very simple and cheap test and very much useful to us at the time of normalization process to preserve our dependencies. So this attribute closure computation is useful to us in computing the closure of F also by less time. So that's why we able to compute F plus in general by applying our inference rules repeatedly, but computation of F plus very expensive. It depends upon the number of attributes. So that's why if you able to find out attribute closure, then we can check any FD exists in F plus or not. Finding attribute closure is not that much complex. We are going to find the attribute closure by repeatedly checking each FD. Left hand side included in our already attribute closure, then right hand side will be added. This process is continued till the attribute closure consists of all attributes of R or all FDs are exhausted. Then if the attribute closure consists of all attributes, then it will be a key. And also if any particular dependency exists in F plus means left hand side attribute closure should contain the right hand side set of the attributes. Then that respective FD includes in our F plus also. We'll discuss about the canonical cover, that is minimal cover of the FDs in the next session. Thank you all.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.